everybody come and see. As they come and hear, I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get the rifle. Oh, to get update and get informed. Oh, come to Celestial Half Hour. Celestial Half Hour TV. Now we be the best information carrier.
Nígbà tí gbogbo àwọn nǹkan yìí tí ó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà, ẹ wá lérò pé inú wa máa dùn, ẹ wá lérò pé a máa fọkàn balẹ̀, bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ẹ̀ ní ká lọ fọkàn balẹ̀, ṣé ìfọkànbalẹ̀ lè wà fún wa? Ṣé báwọn tó kàn àwọn lọ rán lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́? Nígbà tó dé ní ìlú Ọ̀wọ̀ lọ́jọ́ yẹn lọ́hùn, gbogbo ìlú bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sá kíjokíjo, gbogbo á bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sá sọ́tún àsá sósì. Ṣé ènìyàn máa wá lajú ẹ̀ kalẹ̀ Peter lọ́kọ̀ wọ̀? Ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá, ẹ má jẹ́ kí ẹnikẹ́ni láti búdísì ìjọba láti lò yín against the Biafrans, torí wípé tí a bá ṣí yín lójú ẹ̀mí tí a bá rí ohun tí mo rí wípé ní ìdíṣẹ́ ọjọ́ ọ̀la Biafrans sì máa ṣe kíni, ó sì máa ní ṣe pẹ̀lú yín. Nígbà tó bá máa dá ẹ̀yin nìkan ṣoṣo, ẹ wà dúpẹ́ pé Olúwa ẹ máa ṣe o. Ní ti ṣe ìrìnàjò náà, ẹ sọ pé Olúwa ẹ máa ṣe o nínú ìrìnàjò náà. So nísìnyí, ẹ wọ ọmọ kan náà, ẹ wọ ọmọ kan tó pèrè tó sọ pé ọmọ kan lòun, olówó kì í ṣe ọmọ àlè. Ẹ wo bí Samuel Ekpa ṣe kiri. Look at how he defend himself in Finland when he was incarcerated. Ó mà dára kí ènìyàn kọ́ ọmọ ẹlẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó dára o. Train your children. Train your children. Ẹ sábà kẹ́ làkàkà kẹ́ train àwọn ọmọ yín. Kẹ́ fẹsẹ̀ wọn lé ọ̀nà òtítọ́. Àwọn ló máa kọ̀yà fún yín tó bá jọjọ́ ọ̀la. Mo kí bàbá Akíntóyè, ẹ kú iṣẹ́ takuntakun tẹ̀ ṣe lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́. Mo kí bàbá Chief Dr. Sunday Igboho ọmọ Adéyẹmọ owó bàbá Dami, ẹ kú iṣẹ́ takuntakun. Kò sí bá ti fẹ́ ṣe tí àwọn kan bá wọn ìlú wáyé, ẹ wọ Ekpa, ẹ wọ bí tẹ́ Ekpa ṣe dé lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ nínú láti gbà láti liberate àwọn ènìyàn rẹ̀, láti agitate pé a fẹ́ kúrò lórílẹ̀-èdè kan. It's our civic rule, civic right ní ó wà nínú constitution, ó wà nínú ìkíni ìṣèjọba, ó wà nínú agreement lórílẹ̀-èdè àgbáyé. Lájọṣepọ̀ yóò bá dáa, you can walk away. As a country, as a body, as a group, as an ethnicity, you can walk away. Ẹ wo bí tẹ́ lé ọmọkùnrin yìí dé, ẹ wo bí tó ẹ wo bó ṣe dèpẹ́ dára ẹ̀. Ọlọ́wọ́ bọ́ tì. Báwo ni gbèsòkè?
Especially for young people in Nigeria, they're desperate for change, is my view. Why are you so determined to undermine democracy?
I think undermining democracy is not the right word. Rather, promoting democracy. You give the people a choice. And the choice of the Biafra people is a referendum. It is also a democratic process. So that is not undermining a democracy. More accepted democratic process is when you give the people choice to decide their fate.
But they have a choice. This is an election which will be following democratic laws.
In Nigeria, Biafra people do not have a choice. And that is a historical problem created by the Britain. So everybody, as you have been a journalist with your experience and the history of Nigeria, you agree with me that Nigeria is a mistake because of the tribal and dangerous diversity in Nigeria, which is also a destructive diversity. So when you give the people the choice to choose how they want to live, that is a true democracy. A democracy is not when you bring in the military and invent communities burn the communities because people are protesting. You kill them. Is that democracy? Do you do that in the United Kingdom? The answer is no.
But what about your role in all this? Your tweets.
My role.
Wait a minute. Your role in all this. Your tweets and your social media. Why the need for violence?
It is. Yeah.
At least 1,500 people died in the last 3 presidential election campaigns.
Was it my fault then?
And there have been deaths so far in this one too.
That's what we want to correct by making sure we do not continue to validate an evil entity that subjects their citizens to death. So the only solution to this is to disintegrate this evil entity and allow people to make their choice so that they can develop and practice politics in the best way possible, just like the Europeans here.
So are you justifying the violence that comes from the kind of stuff that you...
It is not, the violence is not about what I do. It is the provocation of the policy of Nigeria.
Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile, was recently invited by the Finland authority for questioning after the Nigerian government wrote a petition against him to the Finland authority and also to the European Union, accusing Simon Ekpa of inciting violence in Nigeria. Simon Ekpa has defended himself and the Biafrans intelligently, which makes the Finland government to pledge their full support to the Biafra Independence Declaration. It was an ordinary day in Finland when Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile, received an extraordinary request. The Finnish authorities, acting on a petition from the Nigerian government and backed by the European Union, invited him for questioning. The charges were serious: incitement of violence and creating unrest in Nigeria. For Simon Ekpa, this wasn't just about defending himself. It was about defending the Biafran people and their quest for self-determination. As Simon Ekpa prepared to face the authorities, one thing was clear: he wasn't going there to apologize or retreat. He was going to explain with clarity and conviction why the Biafran struggle is a legitimate fight for freedom. This is the story of how Simon Ekpa turned the tables and won over the Finnish authorities, securing their understanding and support for Biafra's cause. To understand Simon Ekpa's defense, you need to know a little about Biafra's history and Nigeria's struggles. Biafra is a region in southeastern Nigeria, predominantly inhabited by the Igbo people. In the late 1960s, the Biafrans, feeling marginalized and oppressed, declared independence from Nigeria. This led to the Nigerian Civil War, also known as the Biafran War, from 1967 to 1970. The war was brutal, resulting in millions of deaths, mostly from starvation due to a blockade imposed by the Nigerian government. Despite the war ending with Biafra's reintegration into Nigeria, the wounds never healed. Many Biafrans still feel like second-class citizens in their own country, citing economic neglect, political exclusion, and targeted violence. Over the decades, the call for Biafran independence has persisted, with leaders like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and now Simon Ekpa taking up the mantle. Simon Ekpa, who lives in Finland, has been a vocal advocate for Biafra independence through his social media platforms. He has galvanized millions of Biafrans to demand their right
to self-determination. However, this activism has made him a target for the Nigerian government, which accuses him of inciting violence and destabilizing the country. When the Nigerian government wrote to Finland and the European Union, they painted Simon Ekpa as a dangerous agitator. They claimed his speeches and social media posts were responsible for violence in Nigeria, including attacks by unknown gunmen in the southeast region. Their goal was clear: silence Simon Ekpa and delegitimize the Biafra movement. But Simon Ekpa wasn't intimidated. He knew the accusations were part of a broader effort to suppress the Biafran struggle. He saw this as an opportunity to set the record straight, not just for himself, but for millions of Biafrans who have been silenced for decades. When Simon Ekpa arrived for questioning, he was calmed but determined. He knew the importance of this moment. The Finnish authorities were not just listening to him, they were listening to the voice of the Biafran people. The secession began with the Finnish officials outlining the accusations against him. Simon Ekpa listened patiently, taking mental notes. When it was his turn to speak, he began with a simple but powerful question: what is democracy? He explained that democracy is about giving people the power to make choices about their lives and their future. For the Biafran people, he argued that choice is a referendum, a peaceful democratic process to decide whether they want to remain part of Nigeria or become an independent nation. Simon Ekpa didn't just defend himself, he defended the principles of democracy and self-determination. He pointed out that Nigeria's political system has consistently failed the Biafran people. He highlighted the systemic injustice, from economic marginalization to military brutality, that have made life unbearable for Biafrans. He addressed the accusations of incitement head-on. If advocating for a referendum is incitement, he said, then the world has misunderstood democracy. He emphasized that his call for self-determination is rooted in non-violence. The violence in Nigeria, he argued, is a result of the government's oppressive policies, not the actions of activists like him. Simon Ekpa also drew attention to Nigeria's history of election-related violence. Every election in Nigeria is bloody, he said. This is not new, and it has nothing to do with Biafra. He described how the Nigerian state has used violence to suppress dissent and blame Biafrans for the unrest they themselves caused. One of the most contentious points in the inquiry was the issue of violence. The Nigerian government had accused Simon Ekpa of fueling violence in the southeast, but Simon Ekpa turned the argument on its head. He asked, who are the real perpetrators of violence in Nigeria? He presented evidence of military operations in Biafran communities where villages were burnt, civilians were killed, and homes were destroyed. He showed reports of unknown gunmen who, upon closer investigations, were often linked to state security forces. Simon Ekpa argued that the Nigerian government uses violence as a tool to silence dissent. He pointed out that even peaceful protests in Nigeria are met with brutal crackdowns. Is it a crime to demand your rights? He asks. Is it wrong to want to live in a country where your people are not treated as less than human. Simon Ekpa's activism relies heavily on social media, and this was another area where he faced scrutiny. Critics argued that his post could incite violence, but Simon Ekpa had a different perspective. Social media is my microphone, he said. It is how I educate and mobilize my people. It is how I show the world what is happening in Biafra. He explained that in the 1960s, during the first Biafra struggle, there was no social media. The Nigerian government was able to hide the atrocities committed against Biafrans from the world. Today, with platforms like Twitter and Facebook, the truth can no longer be suppressed. He acknowledged that some might misinterpret his message, but he insisted that his goal is always to inform, not to incite. My words are a call for justice, he said. If justice is provocative, then so be it. Simon Ekpa didn't stop at defending himself. He also exposed the corruption and hypocrisy of Nigeria's leadership. He described how every major political figure in Nigeria, from Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Atiku Abubakar to Peter Obi, has been implicated in corruption scandals. Can you build a just society on a foundation of crime? He asks. These are the people ruling Nigeria. These are the people running Nigeria. People with blood on their hands. And they dare to accuse me. Simon Ekpa was particularly critical of those who claim to represent the interests of the Biafran people but are not part of the same corrupt system. We don't need saviors from within a broken system, he said. We need a new system entirely. The Finnish authorities were impressed by Simon Ekpa's arguments. They saw through the Nigerian government's narrative and recognized the legitimacy of the Biafran struggle. Why they stopped short of outright endorsing Biafra's independence, they pledged to support the principles of self-determination and democracy. This was a major victory for Simon Ekpa and the Biafra movement. It showed that the international community is willing to listen and engage, even in the face of pressure from a powerful state like Nigeria. As Simon Ekpa left the meeting, he knew the fight was far from over. The Nigerian government would continue to resist the Biafra movement, and the road to independence would be long and difficult. But for the first time in years, there was a sense of hope. The world was beginning to listen. For Simon Ekpa, the journey is personal. This is not just about politics, he said. It is about the lives of millions of people who deserve to live in dignity and freedom. Simon Ekpa's defense before Finland is a reminder of the power of truth and resilience. It is a story of a man who stood up against a powerful state and refused to back down. But more importantly, it is a story of a people who have been denied their rights for too long and are finally finding their voice. In the end, the question isn't just about Biafra, it is about what kind of world we want to live in. A world where people have the right to choose their destiny, or one where they are forced to live under oppression. For Simon Ekpa and the Biafran people, the answer is clear. And now, thanks to his efforts, the world is beginning to see it too. I'll play the video for you guys to watch and see for yourself.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
So much is riding on this election, especially for young people in Nigeria. They're desperate for change, is my view. Why are you so determined to undermine democracy?
I think undermining democracy is not the right word. Rather, promoting democracy. You give the people a choice. And the choice of the Biafra people is a referendum. It is also a democratic process. So that is not undermining a democracy. More accepted democratic process is when you give the people choice to decide their fate.
But they have a choice. This is an election which will be following democratic laws.
In Nigeria, Biafra people do not have a choice. And that is a historical problem created by the Britain. So everybody, as you have been a journalist with your experience and the history of Nigeria, you will agree with me that Nigeria is a mistake because of the tribal and dangerous diversity in Nigeria, which is also a destructive diversity. So when you give the people the choice to choose how they want to live, that is a true democracy. A democracy is not when you bring in the military and invade communities, burn the communities because people are protesting. You kill them. Is that democracy? Do you do that in the United Kingdom? The answer is no.
But what about your role in all this? Your tweets.
My role.
Wait a minute. Your role in all this. Your tweets and your social media. Why the need for violence?
It is. Yeah.
At least 1,500 people died in the last 3 presidential election campaigns.
Was it my fault then?
And there have been deaths so far in this one too.
That's what we want to correct by making sure we do not continue to validate an evil entity that subject their citizens to death. So the only solution to this is to disintegrate this evil entity and allow people to make their choice so that they can develop and practice politics in the best way possible, just like the Europeans here.
So are you justifying the violence that comes from the kind of stuff that you...
It is not, the violence is not about what I do. It is the provocation of the policy of Nigeria. Okay? So it is a long time bomb coming. So what you see happening now, Nigeria have a history of violence from the beginning of Nigeria. After independence, every election in Nigeria has witnessed violence. So it is not about me. I am here as a good guy to put an end, to have a lasting solution to the violence that have caused the life of thousands of Nigerians.
But do you not accept that some of the things that you say has engendered this kind of...
From your own perspective, you can translate it and interpret it however you want. But from my own perspective, I think I am the good guy trying to teach the people that they have a right.
So there's no blood on your hands?
There is no blood on my hand. There are more blood on those supporting the election, supporting this particular coming election. They have more blood in their hand. In Imo State, you have a governor that have invaded his own state, killed people, and why are you people not talking about that? Those are the people that have blood in their hand. All the people that have been elected in Nigeria since 1960 all have had bloods in their hand, and nobody is asking the question. I am just the good guy who say enough is enough. Somebody have to say something and somebody have to do something, and we're doing it.
But couldn't you make more progress if you were in the tent, as it were, not rather than out of the tent?
You can't.
In another country.
Sorry?
You're in Finland.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be better if you went back home and did the political thing there?
You should. No. You see, I learn from what happened to others. I don't want to put my life in danger because the country, as far as I'm concerned, does not exist. Any country that does not respect the rule of law doesn't exist.
You're scared you might be killed?
Not everybody. You know that. You can say that as well. Yes.
There's a bounty on
because yes, there's a bounty on my head because Nigeria, because of the Islamic agenda in Nigeria, whoever that rises up to say something that will, make the life of the people to be better, they want to kill the person. They assassinate people every day. And today you see that there is a video that has been released by a man called Ikenga Imo, when an assassin invaded his house and they wanted to kill him. They are police officers. But if there is no CCTV, they will say unknown gunmen. These are the people that are causing all this crisis in Biafra land. But without that video, everybody has concluded that they are unknown gunmen. Today we have known them. What are the government doing about it? What are the international community doing about it? Every evidences that have surfaced anywhere about CCTV camera, it has always been security agent from the Nigeria state. Nobody is talking about that. That is what we are fighting against. We are defending ourselves, and we have armed ourselves to fight Nigeria till the last day. We have done it before. The only difference now is that today we have social media. If social media was there in the 1960s, somebody will do what I'm doing today. In those days, you have a man called Okokondem. Okokondem was broadcasting for Radio Biafra and was propagating Biafra stuff, but because there were no social media, so he would have done even more than I'm doing today, I believe so. So this is what it makes a difference. And my activities on social media is educating the people, telling them they are right, that you have a right to say no, and you have the right to say yes.
Who's funding you and your organization?
Biafra people are funding my organization.
Not the Tinubu party?
I have nothing to do with Tinubu. And you know, it's very funny. A lot of people said Tinubu paid me 25 million. How is that possible? How is it possible?
You're denying he
did. I don't know who is Tinubu. I have never communicated with anybody close to him. Just like the way they forged the letter. The reason why this letter issue, Nigeria is a criminal country. They breed criminals. And that's what we're fighting against. The reason why the letter on gets sorted out easily and fast was because it was against Finland, and Finland have to officially react to the letter, and the letter went viral. There are so many lies against me out there on social media. Nobody could come and say it is not true. Okay, so that is, and those lies, when they continue to say it and maintain it, it becomes truth when nobody debunk it.
You talk about criminals. Do you think the candidates for the presidency are criminals?
They are all criminals. Yes, all of them.
Even Peter Obi.
Peter Obi is a criminal.
But he's a southerner, isn't he?
He doesn't. I am not a tribal. Listen, I'm not a tribalist. I'm not a tribalist, and that is what makes us different. We want. If I'm criticizing you, I criticize you with fact and figures. I'm going to tell you how all of them are. Do I explain? One, starting from Atiku. Atiku was indicted in the United States for money laundering. He's a criminal. How do you think if Nigeria is a United States, Atiku will come back and start contesting with the criminal record he has to have for money laundering? Tinubu was indicted in the United States for drug pushing. The records are there. So it's criminal. Nigeria is being ruled by criminals, and they breed criminals. Peter Obi his name was in Pandora. He didn't deny it. It's also the part of international money laundering crime. He has $15 million in offshore accounts.
But surely Obi, being a southerner, is on the side of your people.
That is the problem. Why must you have somebody that have to be in the side of my people? That is the dangerous diversity that have brought us this far, because it will never work. Everything about Nigeria is what favors my people. We want a Biafra where everything favors everybody. But when you have Nigeria, it is either Fulani. Now we don't even have Hausa anymore because Fulani have overshadowed them. So it is either you are fighting for Northerner as a Fulani Muslim, or you are fighting for Yorubas, or you are fighting for Igbo people. So how can you continue in that kind of system? This is why we must make sure that we do not validate Nigeria again.
Right. What's your relationship with Mr. Kanu at the moment?
Kanu is the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, and I regard him as my leader.
Do you talk? Do you have contact with him?
Well, we communicate somehow, but that's a confidential issue.
Because you see, he's disavowed violence. He thinks he's made statements to say that
everybody condemn violence. I condemn violence.
Okay.
I have always condemned violence. On social media, maybe you don't follow that. But where is the violence coming? Who are those committing the violence? They are the Nigeria state. And their intention is to use violence to blackmail what we're doing. And of course, you do not expect people who are Nigerians who are angry, who have lost hope. And the next thing you see from them is when you are hopeless, you become violent. So what is happening now is not caused by anybody. It is caused by the system itself. And until we begin to understand that the violence happening in Nigeria is being generated by the Nigeria system itself, we will never be telling ourselves the truth.
Are you going to rein in your rhetoric a little bit now? Because
How?
we're in the election period. You know people hang on to your words, and it can cause some violence, can't it?
Well, I don't care. You know, we are already at war. In Biafra side of Nigeria, there is a war going on there, and I don't know why medias are not covering it. Do you see a democratic place where the plane will be throwing bombs to the people? It's war. The villages are getting burnt, houses are getting burnt. Even in Ukraine, where you're going to now, the number of people dying in Biafra land outnumber the people dying in Ukraine. So how do you balance that? And who are doing this? The Nigeria themselves, the Nigeria state. You know, when the military comes to the village, instead of protecting the people, they get angry because they obey our orders and then they start burning the villages. So we don't want to continue like that. We want to have, the only solution to this is the disintegration of Nigeria. And if Nigeria do not disintegrate now, the disintegration later on will be very, very, very chaotic. To be very hard before international community, if they continue to let us manage this and force people into election in Biafra land, when this time bomb is going to explode, it will affect everyone.
One last question.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the election?
Election is not happening in Biafra land.
Because you don't want people to vote?
Not me. Biafra have decided. I am telling you the fact. There is nothing that will make Biafrans people to go out and vote. This is a life and death matter. We have come a long way. For over 50 years, Nigeria have done all manner of genocide, committed genocide against our people, kill us every day, and you expect us to allow them to continue to kill us, to elect governors that will bring military and militarize our territory? We can't do that again.
That's 11 million votes, isn't it?
Nobody will vote in Biafra land. I am telling you the fact. It will shock the world. We've made up our mind and we know what we have on ground. Nobody will vote in Biafra land.
Even if that undermines the rest of the...
It is not undermining, no. This particular civil disobedience is also a democratic process, and I want you to see it in that perspective. When people say, I don't want, it is their choice. And if you think that there are people who want to vote that are bigger in number, conduct a referendum. As simple as that. For now, we control 90% of Biafra people. 90%.
Thank you.
Well,
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update.
Everybody come and see. I say come and hear. I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get the rifle. Oh, to get update and get informed. Oh, come to Celestial Half Hour. Celestial Half Hour TV. Now we be the best information carrier. Everybody come and see. I say come and hear. I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get the rifle. Oh, to get update and get informed. Oh, come to Celestial Half Hour. Celestial Half Hour TV. Now we be the best information carrier. Everybody come and see. I say come and hear. I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get the rifle. Oh, to get update and get informed. Oh, come to Celestial Half Hour. Celestial Half Hour TV. Now we be the best information carrier. Everybody come and see. I say come and hear. I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get the rifle. Oh,